Happy Sunday, you guys. I hope you are having a glorious Sunday. Let me know how you guys are doing today. How was the week? What do you have upcoming this week? What shenanigans are you guys getting into? Well, before we dive any further, if you don't know who I am Tara with Kittens, Weights, and Tarot. You can learn a little bit more about me by checking out the description box down below, checking out the website, kittensweightsandtarot.com, maybe checking out the witchy shop, Desert Cauldron, and stay tuned because there are some new things happening to Kittens, Weights, and Tarot, but in due time, in due time. All right, let's see. I thought it would be fun to make ourselves a tea this afternoon. So let me just get this thing going. Oop. My goodness, technology, you know. Okay. Do 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 do. Interesting. Oh well. There we go. There we go. Now it makes you sign in to watch a live chat. Oh my goodness. My own live chat. Okay. We're all good in the hood. All right, you guys. So for our tea, before we dive into all the goodies and the things that you guys voted on during the Thursday voting poll, and if you don't know what I'm talking about with the voting poll, roughly every Thursday, I put out a poll just based, there's a few questions, things that you guys want to see during the Sunday live chat, along with the other things that we do. And I put that poll out on my channels page. I put it out on my Patreon page, my YouTube members. And so if you're a YouTube member or a patron and there's something that you're just aching to see, well, you kind of get some extra votes. So you have your Patreon vote, and then you have your subscriber vote. And if you're a member of all three, a subscriber and a patron and a YouTube member, then you got like 3 whole votes, man. And so it was kind of unanimous about what people wanted to see today, but we will get into that. Like I said, we'll go ahead and get started with a nice little refreshing tea, a nice little warming tea. So I am actually grabbing one of my favorite types of tea, which is Earl Grey. And maybe I was influenced because Captain Picard drinks Earl Grey hot. Earl Grey tea hot. Anyway, okay, we are gonna put maybe like a tablespoon or less of some Earl Grey. Ooh, running low on the Earl Grey. I love my Twinings. Have to re-up on that at a future date. Okay, we are actually going to use my handy dandy little frother today that I got for Christmas. So we'll get to that, but let me pour some hot water into my mug here. So give me just a moment. I'll be right back. Okay. Oh, yes. Well, howdy, Vader. Vader, the curious dog. We'll see him in a moment when we head back out. Okay, so I have my Earl Grey steeping in here, about 1 tablespoon. Hey, Lilith Phoenix is here. What's up? She says, warm greetings, fellow Earthlings. Hey. Live long and prosper. Prosper. Okay, so You guys dig my little mug here, by the way. Just trying to get my shit together. Anyway, so I have just this little tea strainer up top here, and I have a tablespoon of that Earl Grey. Okay, but we are going to get to some frothy goodness. So since when we are frothing milk, it tends to double in size, I have just a little bit of milk, not too much for my tea, because this is going to expand. So if we come over here, all right, I want to do a little bit of sweetener, and I really like maple syrup, like pure maple syrup. So I'm actually going to put a hint of that maple syrup in here, just a hint, because there's not much milk in there. Boop. That's good. All right, and then I have vanilla bean powder. I have my vanilla bean sticks. I also have extract. But sometimes when I'm making certain drinks, especially if we're going to be frothing it up, I'm going to be using my powder. So, and I kind of just eyeball it. So let's call it 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla bean powder. Okay, that was enough. That's that's quite a bit enough. All right, so leave those off to the side. Alrighty, and now for the magic. Okay, there we go. I am gonna take the frother. It kind of spins just like that. Ooh, it's like a little my tea power tool. All right. Spinning it up. Kind of get all around, lift it up a little bit, go back down. And you can see it's already like doubling in size. Getting super frothy. And for my milk, I'm using almond milk only because I can't handle cow's milk. However, I noticed that changed when I went out of the country into Italy, and all of a sudden everybody that was lactose intolerant did just fine on their cow's milk out there, and their goat milk, and all the milks that they had. Okay. Frothy goodness. A little bit more froth. Get it. Get it. Get after it. Okay. I think that's enough. Hey, Costalini's here. It says, why, hello there. Holy synchronicities. Today is National Milk Day. And I was going to ask you about some raw milk I tried yesterday. And the first thing you do is pull out milk. Dude. Synchronicity City. There's no such thing as lactose intolerance to raw milk. I learned that yesterday as well. Something gets stripped during the pasteurization process that causes that. Yeah, I learned that when I was out in Italy, you know, and that's why I always encourage people to travel, go see other cultures, how they eat, how they take care of themselves, you know. Somewhere in the middle, there's some good stuff for all of us. Okay, so I'm just rinsing off my little dude. Okay, so that little guy is going to stay right there. And how's our steeping process going? I'd say it's pretty good. I'm just checking my steepage here. Lola says, got milk. Hey, Aiden says, hi, I made it. Well, hello, Aiden. Lola says, it's called lactase. That's what gets stripped, I believe. And then she's welcoming in Aiden. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we do to improve things and make them safe, but really only hurt ourselves in the process. And perhaps that is intentional. Anyway, so I think this tea is properly steeped. It's an Earl Grey, so I don't want to steep it too long. Okay, and then we're going to take this guy and we're going to pour him right on in there. Okay, and now you guys will see in just a moment. I want to get all the froth and put all the frothy on top. Froth it, baby. Yeah, get after it. I mean, it's just almond milk, so I'll probably just drink it. Good stuff. Okay. I mean, with a hint of vanilla and maple syrup, but anyway. Ooh, delish. If I was super fancy, I'd probably put a little sprinkle of cinnamon, but we're just gonna go do it this way. Yes, that's good freaking stuff. Okay, I want to do one little stir in here as well. Just kind of mix it a little bit below the surface. Good stuff. So those who just popped in, is really just a tablespoon of Earl Grey. And all the flavors that are in Earl Grey, there's a bit of a citrusy sweetness to it. And I think that it pairs well with the creaminess of the almond milk and the maple syrup and the vanilla. I mean, just all the flavors just kind of come together. So yeah, it was a tablespoon of Earl Grey. Steep it in about 8 ounces ish of water, 10 ounces of water. And then I put probably between a third and a quarter of a cup of almond milk, but of course you can use any type of milk you want, maybe even some raw milk. And then I put in about a teaspoon and a half ish of the vanilla bean powder. And then it was about a teaspoon of the maple syrup. Good times. All right. So I'll just leave those guys there. I might rinse out my little jar real quick. Just so it's not a sticky mess later, Yeah, I've had people who have gone on to, drink raw milk and their eczema cleared up, like other skin conditions had cleared up, thinning hair, digestive issues, just it was like a host of different things. It was kind of putting the body back into balance, or kind of where we should be with our foods and things like that, and I suppose they're doing other things with their diet as well, but they were like, their main thing was like the raw milk. So very interesting. Okay, Lola says tea brewing over here. Amaranth. Ooh, that smells so good. Lavender, rose, raspberry leaf, elderberry, yarrow, echinacea, passion flower, and linden. Man, that sounds like a chill ass tea. That is so nice. Ooh, I think even if you took all of that and instead of making maybe you are making nice tea, but a hot tea I think is really good, especially letting the amaranth shine. But also, if you were to take that and chill it overnight in the refrigerator and get it to do a really cold steep, you'd bring out some of the lighter notes in those florals, like the lavender and the rose, and in the yarrow as well, and the passion flower and the linden, and then it becomes almost like a different type of tea. So that's something that I like doing with my teas is, first make it hot, like let's say an Earl Grey, just make a straight Earl Grey hot tea. What does that taste like? How does it make you feel? How does it affect, let's say, meditation? I try to see in all the ways, how's it affecting me mentally? How do I feel emotionally? physically, how am I feeling? And in the spiritual sense, do I feel like it's heightening my intuition, dulling my intuition, putting my intuition all over the place? You know, what is it doing? And then trying it when it's cold. And Earl Grey cold, like as a cold tea, tastes almost like it's a different type of tea, which is pretty cool. So those of you that like to dabble in your teas and your herbal teas and things like that, try it hot and then try it cold, and you know, and see how it affects those different areas. And I don't know, just I'm kind of a herb nerd, if you couldn't tell. So I mean, I've always loved playing with plants and herbs, and I was that kid on the playground that was like making a cake with mud and rocks and sticks and plants and flowers, and just like, want to try my mud pie. So I've always, I don't know, liked playing with it. And okay, maybe I did actually take a bite of that mud pie because I kind of ate dirt when I was a kid. That's fine. That's high in silica. It's good for you. Anyway, but as I got older, I stopped eating mud. I know it's probably pretty sad. I should go back to eating mud. But then I got to learning about how to care for plants and how they interacted with other plants, and, you know, just working with them energetically and speaking to them, and see how that affects their growth and how it affects my growth. And, you know, oh, and by the way, when we go back out, I brought out my paper white plant. Remember the flower, the bulbs that I showed you guys before, and it had been growing like crazy. Well, one of the bulbs finally bloomed, and it's been exactly 2 weeks now. 2 weeks since I added water and lots of love, and those bulbs just like boom, shot up. So I can't wait to show you guys that. Okay, so let's head out to the kitchen and take a look at what you guys had voted on, which is to make a lavender water. So like I had said, there's a voting poll that goes out every Thursday, and you get to vote on what you want to see during the live chat. And so one of the things that you guys wanted to see during this particular live chat was how to make lavender water. So I'll talk about the different uses that you use for lavender water, because some people might be like, oh, lavender water, that's cool, I could just like make my house smell nice. But it's for so much more than just making things smell nice. There are a lot of medicinal uses, cooking uses, baking uses for lavender water, personal care uses for lavender water, and also just connecting to it energetically. So we'll go over there. Let me grab my things and let's head on out. Maybe I'll grab our laptop first, and then making our way downtown. All right, so of course got to bring my tea with me. Foamy goodness. All right, I'll be back for you guys. I'll bring you guys back in a second. Oh. Okay. Okie dokie. All right, guys, let's take you on a little road trip. Let's go. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, into the kitchen we go. Let's see. Bring you guys here, and we'll make our lavender water. So let me turn on the lights real quick so you guys can see. Okie dokie. Let's see. Hey, Silver Star Priestess is here. What's up? Let me go back to what you guys are saying. Lila says, also, I put in my coffee press so the leaves can swim freely. Ooh, yes, that is something about teas. As Oftentimes, sometimes we use like the little tea balls and the strainers, but I definitely like room for the tea to expand so you can get like the full flavor, all the goodness. It's like trying to squeeze goodness out of somebody when they're already constricted. So yeah, definitely really cool. Costolini says, literally overnight, my knees stopped hurting and my foot feels fine. And I was wired, like full of energy. Dude, that is so cool. And if you guys just kind of popped in, you're wondering what Costolini's talking about. He's talking about raw milk. And, many of us are kind of going back to before things were kind of processed and pasteurized. And people are noticing a real difference in their bodies, and probably also spiritually as well, as within, so without. So Lilith says, love the dark academia vibes. Hell yeah. It says, oh, lovely. I should have enough to do so. Time Harvest says, I would take a bite of that mud pie. No problem. Heck yeah. High five, Time Harvest. Let's see. Everybody's welcoming in Silver Star. So cool. Delisha is here. She's a road trip. And Silver Star says, drinking me a chamomile blueberry mixed with reishi, lion's mane, and some other adaptogenic mushrooms. Ooh, dude, mushrooms also so good for you. Riley is not a fan of mushrooms, but I love all the different types of mushrooms. Would not ingest poisonous mushrooms, but you can definitely tap into those mushrooms energetically, But yeah, I love when we work with our fun guys, Delisha said, there is no skipping ad options coming up anymore on YouTube. I hate this update. Oh, really? Oh, well, they don't give us a whole lot of control when it comes to the ads. They say, let YouTube do it or do it manually. And I say, I'll do it manually. Therefore, meaning I don't want to do them at all because I'd rather not have ads. But yeah, so yeah, freaking YouTube trying to make its mole. Let's see. Silver Star says, making mud pies. I definitely was doing that as well. Nice. Okay. Well, getting back to our, here we go. Our lavender water. Oh, I probably need some lavender for my lavender water. I will be right back. I'm going to grab my lavender jar. There you are, right in front, as always. Okay. Ta-da! Lavender. All right, and I'm going to grab one of our tablespoons. Okay, so while the water is boiling over there, let me talk a little bit about lavender water. Okay, so first we'll talk about the personal care lavender. When you take lavender water and let's say put it into a little spritzer like this is just one of those like fine misters that I think is really nice for the face and skin and all of that. It helps to hydrate and also tighten your pores. So really good for the face, kind of throughout the day, just a little misty mist. And there's quite a bit of the essential oils in the lavender water, which not only helps to give it that wonderful aroma, but also you get the, all of the good juju that comes from the essential oils hitting the skin and all of that. So really good for our skin. You could put it all over your body if you want to. You want to become one ginormous lavender plant. That's cool too. Also, if you find yourself out in the sun for a little bit too long and you get a little burn, I'm not talking 3rd degree burns, but I'm saying like minorly burned, then lavender water is really good for that. Helps to soothe some of those burns. Also, if you need an aftershave, let's say, gentlemen, if you are shaving your face, or ladies, you are shaving any other parts of your body, you can use that as an aftershave. It will, again, help to tighten the pores, but it will also hydrate and soothe any of the burn that you may have felt during the shaving process. Hair, it's also really good for your hair, which is why, you know, certain fancy shampoos, they're like, ooh, got lavender and things like this. But remember that you can make your own shampoos. You can use Castile soap. You can mix it with, some people use raw egg. If you don't feel like using raw egg, you can use aloe. You can use essential oils. You can put, you know, some good stuff in there. For some people, actually use raw honey as well, and like their homemade shampoos. But I think I have a recipe here. Oh yeah, there's somebody who created, it was like a DIY shampoo, and they had, it was 2 tablespoons of aloe vera, 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, 2 tablespoons of Castile soap, 1 tablespoon of raw honey, and a little bit of rosemary. But I would say I would maybe put rosemary and lavender, because lavender helps to soothe the scalp. And part of, you know, what happens with hair loss, as I've been doing lots of research. Actually, it was not just been today I've been doing research, but that's something I've kind of been looking into since, I don't know, like 2006, when I was growing out my hair, and after dyeing it all kinds of colors, and I wanted to be nicer to my hair. I was like a redhead for a while. I tried to go blonde, came out with a T-head, and then I went like pitch black, and I don't know. I did a bunch of stuff with my hair. Now it's all natural. But yeah, so, you know, I've always kind of looked into like, why, you know, do some men, you know, have receding hairlines, or they lose their hair? And some people are like, oh, it's just genetic. It's just, you know, boys will always look like their fathers, and, you know, things like that. And girls will usually either get their hair from mother or father. If they take more after dad, then, you know, they might have thinning if dad has thinning hair. And I know that a lot of stuff it's chalked off to, oh, it's just genetic. Oh, it's just genetic. But I feel like there's a lot more control that we have over ourselves, and our ability to help. And so something I was looking into was that a lot of inflammation, you know, happens in the scalp area, and that inflammation leads to a DHT response, and lots of DHT response. Some people are more sensitive than others, hence some people have more hair loss than others. And that could be genetic, you know, how sensitive you are to the DHT. And so that DHT response comes in, which then creates this like restriction in like calcification and restriction of nutrients, which tends to like choke off the follicle, and eventually, you know, the follicle falls away, and there's like scar tissue that's left behind. But, you know, we can reactivate that by just like calming the scalp, you know, massaging the scalp, and really trying to help it out, bringing blood flow to it and everything like that. So lavender is actually really good for soothing that scalp, you know, in combination with your diet, and setting the intention as well. Maybe having a little chat with your hair, you know, energetically, having a chat with your scalp, your body. Like, what are you trying to show me? What is out of balance? Is there something that you're showing me about this release that I need to understand? So yeah, having a little chitty chat there. But also, okay, getting back onto the topic of lavender, could be used as a bug spray or a bug repellent. Sometimes people use a lot of lemon for a bug repellent, but a lot of bugs don't like lavender. Actually, mosquitoes don't like lavender and things like that. So if you wanted to grow lavender, put it in a little plant near your door, maybe even with some like lemon balm and things like that. That'll kind of keep certain bugs from entering the house because of the scent of these plants. So really good for yourself. And if you've already got a bug bite, just put a little lavender water on it, you know, a little spritz, and it'll help to calm down that inflammation as well. Just like it's really good for calming inflammation in the rest of the body. Also, you know, just aromatherapy. Really nice, helps to promote sleep, all of that. So if you want to spritz your pillows, or you want to spritz your bedding or your home, or maybe there's some things that are kind of stanky in your home and you want to do a little deodorization, then, lavender water is really good for that. And then in terms of baking or cooking, lavender water is really good for flavoring lemonades, cocktails. If you wanted to add it to your tea, remember that it does have some of the essential oils in there. And so those essential oils, really good for whatever benefits that you are also trying to get from your tea. So we choose our herbs intentionally, right? Because we want to help our body or help us, mentally, emotionally, spiritually in some way. So maybe add a little lavender water in there as well. But you can also infuse it into like certain syrups, or if you want to put it into baked goods, just like a little hint of it. One of my favorite things to make in springtime is my lavender muffins. They're like lemon lavender muffins. And usually I actually use whole lavender in those muffins, but I'm thinking maybe I want to try it with just like the lavender water and the lemon and see how that comes out with the muffins. But they're just so good. But I'll wait till springtime. Okay. Some people might wonder if this is like a hydrosol. It is kind of like a hydrosol. So I do have a distiller for making my own hydrosols and essential oils, hence why on my website I sell like juniper berry hydrosol, due to all the wonderful juniper berries that surround this area. And when making this, we are going to try to trap as much of the essential oil from escaping in the steam as possible, which is sort of like the distilling process, because in distillation, you would take your plant material, fill it with water, the water gets superheated, and then it's separated into two ways. So it separates the essential oil, so kind of what's floating on the top, with the rest of the water that's just getting pushed out, that wasn't essential oil. However, you can't totally separate essential oil from water. So some of that hydrosol, some of that water does have a little or trace amounts of the essential oil in it, which means that it's still beneficial. And which is why people like to use hydrosols, is because it still has that essential oil. And then of course there's the essential oil, which is like the potent version of that plant material. So what we're making is kind of like a hydrosol. All right. So let's get to it then. What we are going to do is take our handy dandy little measuring glass here, and I am going to put 2 tablespoons, hello lavender, 2 tablespoons of lavender in here, because I'm not going to make very much. So you can see how much this makes. If you guys want to make more, adjust accordingly for your needs. Oh my gosh. Smell-o-vision. Come on, smell-o-vision. That smells freaking wonderful. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we're going to put in roughly half a cup of boiling water. And so that's what my water was doing when it was boiling while we were talking. Okay. And now I'm going to kind of try to stuff that down as much as possible. Get in there. Mix with that lavender. Okay, making sure all the lavender came off. Okay, and now I'm going to take this very heavy cloth and I'm going to place it on top. So you still have a little bit of heat escaping through this dish towel, but you're trying to keep as much of the steam inside this as possible. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this actually for 12 hours. So what time is it right now? It's about 2:30. So about well, 12 hours from 2:30, 2:30 in the morning, I guess. This would be ready to go. So basically in the morning, I would then take either my spritzer bottle here, or maybe just a cool like vintage bottle. Actually, this is what I used for my lavender water. I'm all out now. So I could just reuse this, or maybe I'll use this one, but I like old bottles. So um, I might put a little bit in here so I can use that for like my face and my hair. And I might put a little bit in here to kind of freshen up the space, or maybe freshen up my face. I don't know. And then you're going to want a little funnel and a strainer. So you want to strain out the plant material when it's ready. That water is going to have a slight purpley lavender look to it by tomorrow. And so you just strain it out, pour it through here, pour it into your apparatus of choice, and you have yourself a very simple, very easy little aid for your beautification, also for your cooking, for your home environment. And think about the energy of lavender. Maybe you want to promote a peaceful environment in your home. You're just like, dude, like, let's cleanse and like detox this space, like just spritz some of that aroma out there. And also maybe just even in meditation, having that aroma there as you connect to the plant itself and see what lavender has to share with you. So, okay. So like I said, we'll let that just chillax and we'll have a little bit more tea. Okay, let me look at the chat here as I am a little bit behind. Costalini says, I heard you can set your VPN to Albania if you don't want ads on YouTube. Really? I like that. Lola says, removing ads, I think it's something when you monetize your channel. So if you don't do that, I think you won't have the application of the ads and its revenue. Yeah, I wish there was a way to monetize without having to put ads on your channel. Silverstar says, believe you have the option to put ads in your YouTube, even if you are monetized. You just have to do it from the beginning. I'm not sure. Tara can clarify. I know that if you already had, and you have to pay to remove them. Yeah, I know some people have certain like software paid, sometimes unpaid software to remove ads from YouTube. When I monetize my channel, I usually ask that if ads do go in, that it's not like in the middle of my business, so either put it at the beginning or put it at the end and make it skippable. Like that's what I hope, but I don't think we have the ability to say make it skippable anymore. I think YouTube's just kind of like taken over with that. And for a while, YouTube was just like inserting ads all willy-nilly, and you had to physically go in as a YouTuber and be like, hey, like knock that crap off, like just at the beginning and at the end, like stop trying to put an ad in every like 2 minutes, crazy. Let's see. Delisha says, most applications are asking for membership now. Many were free before, but change that. Yep. Everybody's just trying to make a money. Says, are you for real, Costalini? Will the ads stop then in YouTube without paying? And then Lilith's saying, hello to Riley. And Felicia says, I am in India and we are hearing a lot of news about Trump, like kidnapping recently. So what are your thoughts on what Trump is doing nowadays? Well, there's not really been any kidnapping going on. Without getting super political on the channel, there's a lot of dissatisfaction, it seems, in a lot of countries, not just the United States, with people just kind of coming across borders all willy-nilly, whether they're going into Canada or they're, going into different parts of Ireland or, the UK and things like that. I obviously, like, my family is a family of immigrants, but everybody had to kind of go through a process. It's like, as being a teacher, enrolling in school, students couldn't just come to the school and be like, okay, I'm a student here now. They had to go through an application process. There was an enrolling process so that we could have background information on the students, so we knew how best to help them. We knew, how to contact people if something ever happened. So when my dad's father came over from the Philippines. He had to go through that process, and he had joined the United States Navy. My Nana had come over from Mexico, and she had to, go through the process. And my on my mom's side, I had my great grandfather and my great grandmother. One of them came through Ireland, and one came from Germany. And they came through Ellis Island, and then through, I think it was like Pennsylvania to Ohio to eventually to different parts of the United States. But it was a process, and we wanted to know who all the citizens were here, and how best we can help all the citizens here. If we notice there's a bunch of people coming in and they need help with X, Y, and Z, we want to be able to know who they are so we can help, so we can become a stronger society. And I think it's very difficult if random people just kind of come over and we don't know anything about them. It becomes, I think, very a disconnected society. So I don't know, everybody's got their different ways of trying to deal with immigration right now, but we'll see how it all plays out. Vader. Anyway, that was Vader saying hello. Yeah, I think he was like, okay, we're good. Okay. Costalini was saying he pays for premium. Only heard of the VPN. Ah, interesting. Interesting. Okay. Well, homies, let's head on over to the living room. So again, we're going to take ourselves a little road trip. So let me grab my laptop and my tea, and I'll come back for you all, promise. Hello, Vader. No need for crazy. Okay. I said I'd be back. I'm back. Road trip. Well, hey, Vaderski. All right. Off to the living room we go. And we're going to talk a little bit about the herb for the week that I think will be beneficial for all of us. Okay. All right. Here we are. Okay. All right. Let's see. Costalini says, I was on the watch list for a while. Good old U.S. Border Patrol. Dude, I feel like we're all on probably some sort of list. I'm probably on some sort of whatever deep state list is always what's she talking about now? Lil says, come back, Titanic background music. Yeah, all of a sudden you hear, what's her face singing, near, far, wherever you are. All right, so Delisha, we will definitely get to super chats and super stickers in a moment. Now I want to talk a little bit about the herb of the week. I know that we did make a tea, and we talked a little bit about lavender and making lavender water, which I am so stoked about having some lavender water by tomorrow morning. I'm like, yes, I've been out. So good voting pick. I needed to make some more lavender water. But I do want to talk about an herb of the week, and I figure that with this herb of the week, it also helps us to have a focus for the week. So something that we could tap into and, work with throughout the week, which I feel is also kind of our message for the week. But let me just, this is so good. I'm going to have far too much fun with that frother. But Riley's sister gave that to me for Christmas, and I'm just like, oh, it's so awesome. I just now used it like last night, and I was like, oh, it's so good. Mm. And I wanted to show you guys the paper whites that I promised you. So remember, there was literally like 3 bulbs here, and they were, I guess I started tending to them around December 28th, which makes today actually exactly 2 weeks. And so after 2 weeks, look at this growth. They were much smaller than this. They were actually below the rim 2 weeks ago. And now these guys are late starters, but that's fine. You can be a late, bloomer. That's cool. But look at this. Look at these little paper whites. They're just so freaking, they like almost bloomed before my eyes yesterday. They were kind of like this, a little bit emerging. And then by the end of the night, they were pretty much like that. And now they're even more today. It's just crazy. They have such a sweet smell to them. They smell a little bit like jasmine, actually. Like, what's that called? Like midnight jasmine. And jasmine is one of my favorite flowers. I love rose. Like rose is it's top there, but jasmine is like a really, really close second. Like I love the smell of jasmine. And yes, I love all the scents like lavender and everything. I don't knock any flower really. But jasmine, it's just something about it. Anyway, so this is my little baby. I've been like telling him every day, just grow, you can do a little guy. One day you'll be able to see the outdoors when you're all ready. Let's see. Delisha says, why are we not going on a forest trip? Wanted to see how it works. I wouldn't mind a forest trip if it wasn't like 20 some degrees outside. It's a little chilly. I mean, it was chilly in the house. When I'm less of a wuss, we will go outside and I will show you like what's going on right now in the environment, which is a good message for what's going on with us, because as within, so without. So it might be a little warmer next week. So next week, I'm thinking I'll take you guys out then. All right. So it's a date. We'll go out into our little foresty forest next Sunday. Okay. Let's see. Delisha said, beautiful. Silver Star says, they're blooming, sweet flowers. Thank you, Heather. It's Silver Star Priestess. That was her gift to me for Christmas. And it's like, like as soon as I saw it was a potted plant, I was like, oh my gosh, she is my soul sister. She knows me. But yeah, I've been talking to it and giving it just enough water and just having little conversations with my plant and just like grow. But yeah, it is grown so fast. And what it looks like at the start of the day is a little bit different than how it looks at the end of the day. Like it grows just a little bit more and they're just a little bit more bloomed. It's pretty freaking crazy. I've never seen anything grow that fast, actually. Even weeds. I don't see weeds grow that fast, but even then there's not really weeds, Everything is utilized. Delisha says, yay, waiting for the next Sunday live then. Okay, so for this week, the herb that I was drawn to, or the plant that I was drawn to for our message for this week, and something that we could work with, and that, I like to read a little bit about it to you guys so that you can figure out how you might want to incorporate it. Either if you don't have it in your area because it's not native to where you live, then you could always sit in meditation and connect to that energy and see what that energy has to offer you. Or maybe it is native to your area and you actually want to utilize it. Maybe just sit next to it and meditate with it, have a little chat with it. Plants are, consciousness too. Or, you could find different ways to incorporate it into your daily routine for the week and see how that changes your opportunities, your outlook, your mood, how maybe it affected you physically. Did you notice like deeper, more lucid dreaming? Did you notice more astral travel, or your meditations were like off the hazy? Definitely stuff to write down. But we are going to talk today about aloe vera. Aloe vera is something that grew all over the place where I grew up in San Diego. And it was something that a lot of the Mexican families and my Mexican family utilized a lot of. And it was like, there was a lot of use for cactus and also for aloe, which is also a type of succulent. But it was used in foods, it was used in like tonics, drinks, and it's used for sunburns, like all sorts of things, for hair. Like, I just mentioned that, some people use it in their homemade shampoo with like the Castile soap and aloe and everything. I don't know if I would probably use coconut oil for maybe like a hair mask, like if I had it mixed with rosemary and lavender and stuff. But I don't know. Be careful about putting coconut oil down the drain, because at a certain temperature, it does turn to a solid. So I would say be careful. Maybe rinse it outside or something. Let it go back into the ground. But anyway, I digress. Aloe vera. Let's learn a little bit more about it. And then there's actually an aloe vera plant in this house. So let's go check it out. And before we do, I got another herbal book. It's like one can never have too many herbal books. But anyway, I got the Ancient Herbalist and Healer Natural Remedies book by Tamsin Meadowcroft. This book is freaking it. I love it. I love the way it's laid out. It's just full of recipes, and everything's like broken down to recipes for children, recipes for adults, recipes for digestive issues, recipes for working through different skin conditions, recipes for lifting your mood, for aches and pains. Like it's very detailed, I feel. And then at the back of the book, it tells you like different herbs that you might want to have in your herbal medicine cabinet. It's just a few of them. It says you don't have to go crazy and have like hundreds of herbs. You can have like a few mainstays that are really good for everything. It also has things broken down by season. So it's like in this season, you might want to start prepping this for the next season. So like at the tail end of autumn, you're prepping stuff for cold and flu season. So you want to get all your tonics and your elixirs and things like that ready. And I think it's pretty cool. I dig it. I mean, so maybe you guys want to check it out. I got it off the Amazons. Looks just like this. So if you're interested in herbs, this is one of my newest books that I am fangirling over. Of course, I love all of my herby books, but this is another one. I think it's a very good complement because even though I have a lot of books on herbs, I feel like from different authors' point of view, like we get a more well-rounded picture of how our plant allies can work with us and we can work with them. So I have some books that are more spiritual, in working with plants. I have some that just break down the very scientific, uses of those plants. I have some that talk about like wild crafting, like, going out in nature and how to identify them and, using them much like our native ancestors used them. So I have all these different books that explain, let's say, the same herb in a plethora of different ways. So I have these two books today to talk about aloe. And I have Rawdale's Illustrated Encyclopedia of Herbs. So we're going to see this point of view about aloe. And then I'm going to look at Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. So we're going to see the more spiritual point of view of aloe. Okay, let's see. Silver Star says, the winter plants, they're in relation to daffodils. I was researching them before I sent them. Well, they definitely have like the daffodil look to them. kind of the way they bloom and the shape of the leaves and everything. So I can definitely see that. But the scent to me is very jasmine, which is the best, the best. um, let's see. Melly is here. She says, I love aloe water in my fridge, soothing for the tummy. I used to keep aloe juice in my fridge all the time. But I don't know why I stopped keeping it in the fridge. Maybe I could start doing that again for sure. Silver Star says, I find aloe very drying. I use it when there's too much oil in my hair. Oh, interesting. Yeah, definitely. With any information I give you guys about herbs, just know that this is also through my point of view and my experience. Herbs interact differently with different people because we're all, our bodies are a little bit different. Energetically, we're a little bit different. And so we might require a different type of relationship with that plant. So like what Silver Star was saying for her, that aloe is very drying. For other people, it's super hydrating. For me, it's kind of somewhere in the middle. It's weird. Sometimes it's really drying and sometimes it's hydrating. So I guess it just depends on my energy at the time. But yeah, that's cool. Mamacita Chula says, oh, that's interesting. Love your screen name, by the way. All right, everybody getting welcomed in. This is fantastic. All right, you guys, let's head over to the aloe plant while I read a little bit about aloe, I think. And it's in the sun, so good times. Okay, here we go. So these plants actually belong to Riley's sister. So there's one of her aloes, and then she's got another aloe plant over there. Okay, so I'm gonna sit here and just read a little bit about aloe. Well, hello, Vader. Do you want to say hello to everyone? Vader face. Okay, go on, Vader. Go on. Go on. Okay. Okay, so let's read what Rawdale has to say. Am I borrowing you, sir? Okay, there we go. Aloe. Well, hello, aloe. So yeah, aloe is a type of succulent, very big succulent, kind of cactusy, really. And the stalks are really thick. The juice is kind of inside. When you break it off, it's not like juice comes pouring out. You actually have to extract it and squeeze it out. It has these very prickly, pointy sides on either side of the leaf. And that is just for protection. Every plant has a way of defending itself while also offering its medicine. So, okay. Patient aloe. In a region of Saudi Arabia around Mecca, the name of aloe, saber, means patient. Aloes are considered patient plants because they are evergreen and require very little water. Men and women plant them at the edges of graves on a spot facing the epitaphs to signify patience during the wait between burial and resurrection. Wow, that's very interesting. The more you know. Let's see. In the case of, oops, I got sidetracked. There we go. Aloe. History. In the African Congo, the Slukari hunters rub the gel of aloe over their bodies to remove the human scent before they stalk their prey. Interesting. In many countries, women rub the gel of aloe on their faces to keep their skin fresh and supple. All over the world, men and women rub the gel of aloe on burns to heal skin. Aloe reaches far back into time. The Greek historian Dioscorides recorded the use of aloe as a healing herb 2,000 years ago. The gel was applied externally to wounds, not deep cut wounds, by the way. It was used to clear blemishes and to maintain healthy skin. People believed it prevented hair loss, and so they rubbed it into their scalps, which actually it does. It has a anti-inflammatory response, and oftentimes hair loss comes from inflammation and restriction of nutrients. So yes, it would aid in that actually. Internally, herbalists prescribed it for some stomach disorders, as one of you guys had mentioned, constipation, insomnia, hemorrhoids, headaches, mouth and gum disease, and kidney ailments. Word of aloe's value as a healing herb spread everywhere. It is said that Alexander the Great conquered Madagascar so that his army had a good supply of the herb for healing wounds. Interesting. Okay, let's see. Let's skip around to, cosmetic. All right. It says, legend tells that Cleopatra massaged fresh aloe gel into her skin every day to preserve her beauty. Josephine, wife of the Emperor Napoleon, used a lotion prepared from milk and aloe gel for her complexion. Aloe reportedly helps to clear acne, and dermatologists have successfully treated oily skin and dandruff with it. Aloe has been added to all sorts of commercial creams and lotions for softening and moisturizing the skin. The gel applied alone may cause some drying of the skin. If this occurs, try mixing it with a little vitamin E with the gel, or use it as a moisturizer, or use a moisturizer with it. Okay. Medicinally, let's take a look at the medicine. The skin-saving properties of aloe have been both folkloric and scientific backing. Reports of its healing effects on burns, sores, and poison ivy abound. Such enthusiasm for this herb inspired numerous clinical studies into its efficacy, and scientists have found that aloe has an anesthetic, antibacterial, and tissue restorative properties. Aloe gel does indeed heal burns from flame, sun, and radiation. The gel soothes itching and burning. Depending on the severity of the burn, the tissue regenerates with no scar, and normal pigmentation of the skin returns. In folk medicine, aloe has been used quite often to treat skin cancer. James Duke, PhD, head of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, search for plants with cancer-fighting potential. He reports, I have received more letters about this as a folk remedy for skin cancer than any other species. For its skin healing properties, aloe has been added to various creams and lotions. It's an ingredient in ointments used to relieve sunburn and burns from X-ray treatment of cancer. Aloe is also added to a benzoin tincture that is used as an antiseptic and a protective coating on abraded, blistered skin and cold sores. Let's see. Let's go down to maybe how you can use it. The best way to use this herb is to break off a leaf, which you can see here. Some of the leaves have kind of been broken off because Riley's sister is indeed using this plant. Slice it down the middle and apply the gel to the skin. For a burn or a sore that needs more than just very minor attention, make a simple poultice by placing the cut leaf on the area and wrapping it with gauze. Internally, an extract of aloe works effectively as a laxative, but it may cause severe intestinal pain. Therefore, it is not used for this purpose very often. Aloe laxative is largely restricted to veterinary use these days. This herb has also been recommended for many other ailments, including amenorrhea, asthma, colds, convulsions, hemorrhages, and ulcers. All right, interesting. Okay, if you were thinking about growing aloe in your area, take in to note that it grows in the zone 10 area. This area that we live in here is a zone 7B. So actually, that's why these plants are indoors, is because they have a little bit harder time growing in this zone. So take that into account to where you live. It has a neutral soil pH. It needs average to well-drained soil, hence why it's on this like double thing. There's like rocks and stuff in here to help with the drainage to keep it nice and well drained, and then just filling this bottom portion with water to keep it the roots nice and wet. And it needs full sun to light shade. So it doesn't do so well in the snow. That's why they're indoors. And although they require full sun, a zone 10 area is definitely not a super, super hot area. They can take heat, but they can't take like blistering heat. You know what I'm saying? Okay. let's take a look at some spiritual uses for aloe. And for that, I'm looking at Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. Okay, so let's go here. Peter, you're being so good. Okay, so other names for aloe vera are burn plant, medicine plant, and zabila. It's often considered a plant of protection and luck. It says the aloe, a popular house plant, is also protective. It guards against evil influences and prevents household accidents. In Africa, the aloe is hung over houses and doors to drive away evil as well as to bring in good luck. In Mexico, large wreaths made of whole garlic bulbs strung on a wire are festooned with pictures of saints, packets of magical herbs, lodestones, rock salt, pine nuts, as well as clumps of freshly cut aloe. These are hung up in the home for protection, luck, money, and so on. All right, interesting. Okay, so let's head back. Vader, we're gonna head back. How about that? And we'll get to our super chats and super stickers, but I kind of want to talk a bit about how we could apply what we just learned about aloe to this week as our weekly message. So, okay. Burp, burp, burp. Here we are. All right. So, let's see. Silverstar says, I do keep some in my freezer for sunburns, always soothing. Melly says, I've heard it's a guardian plant, good to put in the windowsill as well. That's wonderful. Yeah, so definitely has the protective quality about it, as you can see from the way it is physically, you know, that it kind of has that protective look, like I'm kind of thorny, I'm kind of spiky, like kind of stand back, you know, but there's definitely medicine inside. So if we're thinking about this week and we're thinking about what we learned about aloe, that aloe is not only good for, you know, in the spiritual sense for bringing in good luck, but it's also for healing, it's for protection, and thinking about what it does for us physically, you know, healing burns, wounds, deep cuts. So for some of us, we may have something with maybe some old wounds, you know, coming up this week, and giving it the TLC that it deserves. You know, sometimes we feel like our days are just so busy, we don't have time to deal with, you know, things that come up, you know, the past that comes up, or, you know, we get hurt in some way. I'm talking more like the emotional hurt. And so we just kind of continue on. But, you know, with aloe, it requires some time. You know, it's not just something that, okay, quick, you know, I'm going to quick heal myself. You know, the aloe plant, got to take time to cut the plant. You got to take time to, you know, clean off the burn or whatever it is that you have going on, and, you know, putting the plant onto it. It's the waiting time. It's the patience. And actually, we just learned that, you know, in you know, part of the Middle East, it's considered the patient plant. So having patience. So this week, something about patience. If you're feeling rather impatient with the world, impatient with the awakening, impatient with, you know, society, or impatient with people in traffic, in what way can we find healing in trying to access that patience? What can we learn from that? And what can we learn about where our energy stands in relation to others? You know, do we allow others to just pull our energy all willy-nilly? You know, if they're upset, now I'm upset. If they're happy, now I'm happy. You know, or do we stand our ground like aloe? Because I guarantee aloe will not go willingly. You know, it does its own thing. It knows about its boundaries. So something to keep in mind, you know, a message from aloe this week. But, you know, you can always get 100% aloe gel. Make sure you get something where it's just aloe, you know, not tons and tons of chemicals. Like in this one, what are the ingredients? Basically aloe. Yeah, so it's just basically aloe. But yeah, So, something to keep in mind, let's have a little sip of our tea. And I know that our friend Alicia had asked a question, which I will be happy to pull a card for. So, yeah, if you guys wanted to do super chats and super stickers now, we definitely could. And then we'll get on into our meditation and maybe we can meditate with aloe. Ooh, yeah. I could totally tap into aloe and have it lead you in a meditation. That'd be so cool. Let's do it. um, let's see. Um, let's see. Mrs. What's it? Hello, hello. 1111 says just listening and wanted to say hello. Well, hello, my friend, and welcome. Okay. Ooh, I love how the foam stays. It doesn't get all flat. Good stuff. Okay. So, Delisha, let's go ahead and pull a card for you. I have a few decks here. I have the Tell Me You Love Me Oracle. I have my Lioness Oracle Tarot. And just for funsies, I have my love messages. I thought it would be really fun. Okay. So let's pull from the Lioness Oracle Tarot. Because Lioness. Ooh. And then we have our friend Costalini as well. Okay. So Delisha wants to know what's coming up for her. Okay. All right. Tell me that you need me. Do, 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 do. Oh, okay. I forget the name of that song anyway. So tell me that you love me. Tell me that you need me. Okay. Delisha says, Lioness. Yes. Okay. So we have the 7 of Wands. We definitely have a dance party going on in my head right now. Just like, okay. Let's tap in. And I also got to look at this lion, because not this lion, but this guy's a tiger. But it's the Lioness Oracle, but this one's a tiger. I love that face. Okay. So this is just, it's a message not just for now, but kind of moving forward. And I think it's a good message for all of us actually as well. That sometimes our biggest frustrations come from when we feel like others don't think exactly like us, or they don't understand exactly like ourselves. So like, let's say, I don't know, take for instance, the interesting driving habits of people around here. What? So, okay, interesting driving habits. So people will, they're kind of like in their own little world. So they drive really fast and they drive really slow and they drive really fast. So it's like they're very inconsistent on the gas pedal. Or it might be they decide, hey, there's a little car there, and it's very unconscious. It's not like they decide, oh, I want to go drive next to this other car. Maybe some people do, but I feel like it's mostly subconscious, where the car they'll just like ride in both lanes, and now you're stuck because you can't pass because you're stuck between these people that want to just ride next to each other. And so there might be this frustration that comes like, I see this, I wouldn't do that. Now I'm frustrated with those people because they aren't doing what I would do. And so, although, yes, we have every right to feel frustrations, we have every right to feel our emotions. But also in understanding that not everybody is us and not everybody thinks like us. And, and if we all did, I guess we'd be a very robotic society, and it'd be very hard for us to, learn and grow because we didn't have all these different types of people on the planet. Not to say that I don't get frustrated with that. I do. I'll be honest. And I know Riley does as well. But we can't control those people. And even if got into an argument with, somebody like that, we can't make them see the way we see, because we're in our own realities. They're in their own reality. I'm in my own reality. Riley's in his own reality, and so trying to get somebody to see exactly as we see is going to be, almost like a moot point. It's going to be rather difficult, and we end up causing ourselves a lot of pain, and hurt and anxiety, because the world isn't interacting the way we wish it to. So with the Seven of Wands that's coming up here, it seems like a message to, not to say just like let everything go, like just, oh well, that person is just being a butthead, I'll just whatever, just ignore it. Not ignore it, but why are we feeling the way we are feeling? Definitely really pay attention to how you feel and where is that really coming from. The situation is the trigger, but where does that belief that's the source of that trigger coming from? And what could we learn from this? How can I use this person as a teacher? And how could I instead lead by examples? Actually, that brings up something from church today as well. The pastor was talking about, more showing people than debating and yelling at people. We get defensive when, somebody comes up and says, well, you're doing this wrong. Right away we're defensive, right? And I'm probably not going to listen to much of what that person's going to say. If they're like, you're doing this, you're doing that, now I feel attacked. But instead, if we show them a different way, now that person has a choice. We've given them a choice instead of the really only choice, which is to be defensive. Now there's another choice. I could take a look at what this person's doing, and I could see if this is something that I want to, take into consideration, that I want to mull over for myself. And therefore they feel more empowered in making that decision instead of being forced to make a decision of how they should be or how they ought to think or how they, so big message coming in. I feel like, Delisha, not only is it for you, but this was like a big message for all of us. Just next time we get frustrated, how could I be more of an example? Because I could yell at this person all day, but I'm probably not going to get anywhere. It's just going to be, this argument that goes on incessantly. But more, how could we lead by example? So thank you, Delisha, for asking that question, because I feel like that was really good for a lot of us. Okay. Let's see. Lilith says, it's 111, 11 in a 1 year. Oh, heck yeah. I love that. Lots of new beginnings coming in. And it definitely is a 1 year in a lot of astrologies. Delisha said, thank you. You are very, very welcome. Okay. Big message. Okay, Costalini says, what would my stomach like to say to me? It must be a party in there. Ooh, I love tapping into people's body parts. Like, I don't know why I find that to be so much fun, but I feel like our body parts don't normally have our personality, or if they do, they have the extreme light side of our personality. Like, they're kind of cheeky and funny. So, so I think I'm going to have a good time tapping into your gut. And Delisha says, so you're saying to not ignore. Yes, don't ignore, honor what you're feeling. Try to figure out where some of those feelings are coming from, and how could you instead, instead of like arguing with someone, how could you lead by example instead? Okay. Emily says, and 11 people in the chat as well. Oh, hey. Okay. Costalini, let's see. I wonder if your gut has any good music playing right now. Bring it on. Really? It's my favorite song? It is my favorite song. Okay, it's Dead Mouse, the DJ. And what's the name of that song? Ghosts and Stuff. That's like one of my favorite songs, but that's the song that's playing in your gut, which is kind of cool. I don't know. It's not really a whole lot of singing in that song. It's more like a beat. So, good thing I know the who made that song and what the title is, so you guys can kind of pull it up for yourself. I'm going to do body with you. Been so long since you do. Do 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 do. Wanna break it down, wanna break it down. Anyway, love that song. Okay, so you got a proper dance party going in your gut. Mrs. What's It says, I love that song. Dude, that song comes on, I'm like, I gotta dance. Like I have to. Melly Star says, I do too. Costolini says, ooh, I like that song. Okay. So what does your gut have to say? Ooh, we have the world. You got the whole world. In your gut, you got the whole wide world. In your gut. Okay, let's take a look. Okay. Hadn't thought about it that way. I don't, okay, first of all, the way I hear your stomach is just through my perception. I'm not saying this is the way your stomach actually sounds. But it kind of sounds like Jay from Jay and Silent Bob. Like, I don't know why, but I keep hearing Jay talking. And he's like, did you know you could get high on literally everything? I was like, wait, what? It's so, yeah. So your gut's like, there's this programming that we have about all the different types of foods we eat. It doesn't matter if you are, vegetarian, vegan, carnivore, whatever, we all have our different diets. And so we decide that, okay, well, this, when I eat this food, this is how it works for me. So your stomach is telling you that you maybe knowingly, maybe mostly unknowingly, set the attention every time you eat whatever it is you eat, whether you are just like snacking on some cashews, or you're like, oh, I'll have cashews, these are got omegas in them, they're good for the brain, and so therefore they are good for your brain. Or like you eat some chicken and you're like, chicken, this will be really good, it's some lean meat, and it's really good for what I'm doing in my exercises right now, so therefore it aids your body in that way, because you've already decided that that is what chicken does for you, or that is what cashews do for you, or broccoli, this is what it does for me. And so it acts accordingly to what you believe it does. But your gut's like, you do know that everything on this planet has a consciousness, so it's the plants, it's the animals, people, it's everything, and everything, as many of us already know, has DMT in it. Plants, animals, people. And so the stomach is letting you know that if you wanted to set the intention to have more of a spiritual experience with the things that you are ingesting, doesn't matter if you're ingesting a handful of almonds or you're having some yogurt with, honey in it or something, but you could have the intention that, oh, this is good for my body, but you could also have the intention of, I want to unlock and commune with the consciousness of honey. I want to commune with the consciousness of this yogurt. I want to commune with the consciousness of this handful of almonds. And in that, it says you may notice that you're feeling a little bit different. Your stomach says you may feel a little queasy at first because you're digesting a little bit differently based on what your intention was. So if you have been noticing that you have been having some issues with certain foods and you've been having, maybe some bloating or discomfort, with certain foods that you eat or after you drink certain things, your stomach is saying that the food is trying to speak to you as much as the body is trying to speak to you. So the food is saying, we're not simpatico right now. So let's say, for instance, you had an issue with onions. And, you might look it up on the internet. Oh, well, onions, sometimes produce gas in people. So this makes sense. And then we just leave it there. But we never really ask the onion why it was causing you discomfort or why the stomach was like, I'm having an issue with onion right now. So then we take a look into, okay, what does onion mean spiritually? How could I look at this, not from some book, some spiritual book, but from me personally, me working with onion. What is onion trying to show me right now? It's like, oh, maybe I'm uncomfortable with the layers that are being peeled off of me right now. So, I'm feeling resistance. So therefore my body is feeling resistance to this food. So these foods are trying to communicate to you. And your body is also trying to communicate to you how you're feeling with these certain foods. But really, with this dance party that's going on, because if I'm right, that song is about doing drugs, by the way. But yeah, there's literally so much to be learned in everything that we ingest, both, obviously metaphorically, but also physically. But I think it's focusing on the physical, from the things that you're drinking, to the things you snack on, to the things that you eat, to the things that you say are bad for you, or these foods are good for me. But we set that intention, and therefore our body responds accordingly. If we are feeling adverse to the medicine of a certain food, then our body is going to respond accordingly. So I hope that makes a lot of sense. See, Costolini says, if the USDA finds out I'm getting high off raw milk, I'm getting deported. Oh my God. So this is a very cool lesson, though. It pairs well with the tooth that reacts to the energy of foods. Definitely. And dude, I am going to take your message into consideration too, because I'm like, oh, although, yeah, I do make certain foods with intention, like very rarely do I set an intention with everything that I eat and I drink. But now I'm really going to think about it. And I'm going to think about the foods that I have issues with. Like I have one allergy, literally one allergy out of everything. And I'm allergic to papaya. And I have been since I was a baby. And I'm not allergic to any other things in the papaya family. Like I'm good with mangoes. I'm good with, other, tropical fruits. But papaya, I have an adverse reaction to. Like I'm pretty allergic to it, whether it's applied topically or I take it and, ingest it, if I smell it. So now for me, I really maybe sit down with papaya, figure out what is papaya's medicine? What does papaya show people? And maybe that's something that I have a resistance to. And that's why my body is putting up a fight with it. That's cool. And I suppose since it's been in my head that my mother put it in my head that you're allergic to papaya, that's been my mantra. I'm allergic to papaya. And therefore my body responds accordingly. You're allergic to papaya. So interesting. Dude, that's fascinating. Thank you, Costolini, for asking that question. That's freaking awesome. Let's see. Silver Star says, fermented honey. So good for you. Oh, nice. And Melly says, your gut microcosm is partying. Oh, Lilith, excellent. She said she sent a PayPal. Curious to know about our soul contract and if we've met in a previous lifetime. Ooh, that's going to be fun to dive into. I like that. And so Lilith was saying the papaya represents fertility and abundance. Interesting. And I feel like I've had a pretty abundant life. Like, and all things considered, of course, there's been some um, difficult times in my life, but all in all, I feel like I'm a pretty abundant person. So why would I resist papaya's medicine? I'm gonna have to meditate on this. Thank you, you guys. I'm thinking about Delicia's question. I'm thinking about Costolini's question. I'm like, ooh, I have so much to journal and meditate about later. Thank you. This is great. And Costalini said, thank you for talking to my belly. You are very welcome. It was a belly full of laughs in there. They're having a party in the belly. It's awesome. Okay, so Lilith, let's take a look at the soul contract. Maybe we met in a previous lifetime because, I feel like, who knows, maybe everybody in this freaking live chat right now, we've probably all interacted at one time or another in some past life. And actually, Riley and I were having a bit of a chit chat about past lives earlier and trying to understand like why we reincarnate. And maybe it's to learn something, accept, maybe the way, the truth, or so much to think about, so much to ponder. Okay, Lilith, we're going in. Okay, so looks like we're bypassing the music and everything for now. Like we're going straight to finding where your energy and my energy meet up previously. Wow, I got to sift through a lot of my lives. My lives. I count roughly like 34, 35 of them. Man, I'm a slow learner. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. Alrighty then. Okay, Lilith, are you ready? Um, so as I was sifting, and I guess presumed, as I should not presume or assume, that I'm always human in every life, and I am not. So there was a life where I was a horse, which makes sense. I love horses. Like I absolutely love horses. And you were the rider. um, but and there was like this moment of, I guess I was very stubborn and like you wanted to break me so that I could like, be useful to you. But at the same time, it was like from time to time, I'd let you know that just so you know, I could break you at any point. I'm also a very powerful being, and I'm only submitting to you because I wish to. And it's like I would make that known from time to time that I'm just doing as you ask of me because we're okay with each other, like we're homies. But I don't want you to feel as though I am broken, like where you are the master of me. So it was like we have a good balanced relationship, where that I am just submitting because I want to. Interesting. Okay, so let's pull a card on that. So what was how's that carrying over? Obviously I'm seeing that because it's carrying over into this life, but I want to know why, how. Riley's like not saying anything. Okay, sir. Okay. All right. Six of Wands. Um, so it's not so much a contract as it is a shared lesson. And we just so happen to work on it early on. And then I guess we're sort of working on it now. That in order to work with someone or something, we don't necessarily need to dominate it. We don't need to, like, I was going to say make it or anyway, we don't need to, have absolute control of it, to say you work for me, in order for you to accomplish your goal. That we could accomplish goals together as long as we know the power in each other. You understood the power in me, the horse, and I understood the power in you, the rider. And so there was this understanding of what you're capable of, what I'm capable of, not just physically, but energetically and emotionally and mentally, and that we can use that to our advantage. Being able to see that within each other, we can do wonderful things together instead of having this lopsided relationship, where there's one that is the dominant force and the other is just kind of going along because it was told to, and not thinking for itself, not doing anything for itself, and just like total submission, and saying that that's very difficult in any sort of relationship. And so we were kind of learning that for not only our lives with ourselves, but with like everybody that we interacted with throughout all of our lives, and even in this life as well, is that we, in order to get along, so to speak, or to accomplish a goal, I don't have to take the or you, me or you. We don't have to take the position of I am the one that is master in charge, total dominator, and you are all my little peons. Nor do I have to take the position of like, oh, I must be absolutely, just 100% submissive to make sure that we accomplish this goal. It's like, no, we can both stand in our power, both understand the position of the other, in that relationship. And we can move forward in making some really amazing magic happen, that one doesn't need to dominate the other, but we can both be very powerful, but also understanding that, one is the rider and one is the horse, but it doesn't mean that, one is superior over the other. So very interesting. And it says that's what we're learning in this lifetime, and it's kind of the tail end of that learning. And so it's like we've kind of come together. Like we started that learning journey together. We went through all these different lifetimes, and now we come together again now, and we're at a completely different place where we understand the dynamics of relationships, and recognizing that we don't have to give away our power in order to make something work, nor do we have to have all the power to make something work. So very interesting. And Lilith says, the rise of the magic wands. Heck yeah. 4 or 6 little magic wands, actually, to be exact. Awesome. I dig that. I like that I was a horse. I used to pretend I was a horse when I was little. I would like put on clickety clack shoes and I go click, 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 click. I would like go trot around and try to do like horsey things. And then I would make sure I ate my oatmeal, that I was always eating my oats. I was like, I have to eat my oats so I could be a strong horse someday. Nice. So thank you for letting me dive into that. That was interesting. Let's see. Oh, Melly was talking about Costolini's gut is the third brain. Okay, so we have a question from Costolini and I flips. All righty. Costolini says, what's a stomach migraine feel like? Probably some severe cramping. Interesting. I never thought about a stomach migraine. Silver Star says, it's so painful. It feels like your stomach is going through contractions. Best way to explain it. Ooh. And Katrina says, just woke up literally. Have a goodie, y'all. Hey. Well, good morning. Lila says, I'll bring the carrots. I like apples instead. You can bring the apples. Katrina says, good day, lovelies. Good day to you. Aiden says, oh my gods, so did I. Oh my gosh. See, we got more horsies in our chat today. Millie says, I'll bring the sugar cubes. I'll have a sugar cube for sure. Katrina says, carrots for the bunnies. Yeah, maybe for the bunnies. I'm not a huge fan of carrots. I'll have apples and sugar cubes and oats, and I'm good. Okay, Costalini. How much ego do I have left to shed? Like on an average day? I guess I'm only asking to please the remaining ego. The ego would like to know when he's been vacated, like when he's been evicted. Okay. But seriously, we know that we learn a lot from the ego, but, not dissonant. We're just, would like to ascend and all. Costalini, this is weird. It's not a song, but it's the sound of like heavy machinery, like clinking and clanking. It's weird. I'm like trying to tap into the ego, and it sounds like heavy machinery. Perhaps the ego is what was in the Garden of Eden. It was in that apple or whatever piece of fruit it was. Gaining the ego. Okay, it swings back and forth a little bit, but it's like it's between 49 and 52 percent, and it's like it's not a bad thing. Your soul is saying there's a lot that is like locked within the ego that can be unpacked to actually help aid your spiritual side, your soul's growth. It's just extracting what's in the ego in order to help it, because the ego doesn't know that it's helping. It doesn't know it has anything to extract. So therefore, certain situations have to arise in order for the ego to be like, hey, kind of show its true colors and to show its beliefs and to show its programming. So then the ego is like, the soul is like, so that's what you believe. Okay, all right, we can work with that. So it's like it's waiting for, almost like it looks like a gopher like poking its little head up, like, aha. The ego's like, yay. Except we're not whacking it, or maybe we are. Whack-a-mole. Anyway, yeah, a little gopher popping his head up. Hey, that goes against what I believe. That's part of my programming. I'm offended by that. And the soul's like, aha, thank you. You just showed me something. High five. Yeah, so it feels like it's anywhere between like that 40, 49, 52, somewhere in there. But I like that. I like seeing it like a little gopher poking its head up. It's actually pretty cool. Let's pull a card though. Costalini says, ugh, well, at least 50-50 is balanced. It is. And it seems like your soul wasn't concerned about it. Like, oh my gosh, I wish I was way further ahead. It's like, no, it's like I'm using the ego for something right now. And I'm waiting for certain situations to come up so that I could aid my growth, aid my journey. So it's like right now, kind of like what we were talking about with the horse and the rider. the ego is your horse right now, and you are allowing it to teach you some things while being the rider, the one who leads. So interesting. Okay, so let's pull that card though. Oh, okay. I did a really good shuffle, but yes, it is also the Six of Wands. So yeah, the ego might be like right now, the ego, the ego is like upset its own self is not less, if that makes sense. It's like the ego is like, ah, I feel like I should be like so much less, but I don't want to be less. I want to stay, but I want to also feel like I'm winning, like winning, like a Charlie Sheen winning. But then the soul is like, it's all good. It's all good because I know exactly where the ego is right now, and I'm using it for some things at the moment. So I can't get rid of it completely right now. I have to use it for some upcoming events and some upcoming situations with some upcoming people. And it's going to be awesome. Like that's how our soul is. It's like our soul is like, everything is awesome. Dee, 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 dee. You know, not a care in the world. It's like, it's all good, you know, and the ego is like, ah. So yeah, your soul is good with it all, saying it's fine. Where you're where you're meant to be with the ego right now, because we're utilizing it to our advantage. Ego doesn't know that right now though, but anyway. Let's see. Costolini says, yes, like why am I not only 25% there? Something must be wrong. But that's the ego freaking out about itself not being gone, which is weird. But yeah, the soul's like, it's all good. It's all good. Costolini is right where I want to be because I need the ego for something. You'll see. I was like, okay. Okay, so let's go back here. Lilith says, Apple it is. And Costolini says, yes, he's curious when the lease ends. Oh, it'll be a surprise for the ego. I kind of feel that, trust me. So it's like we can't really let him in on that. We're going to utilize him for just a little while longer, and then we're like, okay, well, bye. Bon voyage. Adieu. All right, Katrina said, Year of the Horse. Yes. Anna, she said, hello, chats, virtual group hugs. This is gumption. And Melly says, I believe you have to have a healthy sense of ego to operate in this world, if that makes sense. Yeah, well, I mean, the world is governed by a lot of ego, so it takes an ego to know an ego. You know? So we could definitely utilize it for that. And Katrina says, yes, our ego also keeps us from getting talked on. Me, myself, and Irene. Oh yeah, walked on. Yeah, there we go. Definitely, like me, myself, and Irene. And Lila says, makes sense why I dislike operating in the world. Katrina says, yes. Hold on. Noms and sirs, I love my ego. Katrina's talking about Berea armies. Lilith's talking about egoception. It's like an ego within an ego within an ego. Superstar says, I do have to head out. All right. Have a wonderful one, y'all. Have a beautiful rest of your day, Heather. Mwah! And thank you. I love my little plant baby. I should name it for sure. I mean, it's several bulbs, but they'll be as one. We will speak as one. All right. So people saying goodbye to Silver Star. Aiden said, someone once said the ego is a program tool we need to know how to use and to deprogram. Yes, I definitely agree with that. Costolini says, he's just a temporary foreign worker. Oh my goodness. All right. So Silver Star says, thank you for a lovely time, Tara. Others chatters, have a wonderful one. You too. Alrighty, so let's take a looky at our friend I flips. I flips. Um, will we make it to the beach this year? Are there any barriers I need to focus on dismantling? All right, to the beach. Ooh, I grew up pretty close to a beach. 15, 20 minutes, depending on the traffic. And then I'd be in a Mission Beach. Well, closest was Mission Bay. Mostly went to the bay because the beach was cold, but okay, I get you. All right, let's tap in. Make it to the beach. Interesting. So I'm seeing this vision of like you're walking and you're walking. It's like you're walking across the sand. You're walking across the sand, and it's like the shore keeps getting further and further away. It's like as you get closer is the same distance it gets further. It's weird. So maybe we can look into why that is so that we could work on it so we can bring that beach much closer. Okay. Do, do, do. Okay, why is that? Why would we be perpetually walking towards a goal, but the goal keeps moving further and further away? What does iFlips need to work on, focus on? Which is cool when we find out what we need to work on. That puts us back in the driver's seat. That, you know, gives us back our power, right? Or we reclaim that power, I should say. We never truly lose it. We just often hand it off. Okay. Ooh, we have the high priest, which in traditional tarot would be like the teacher almost. And, you know, you have your loyal disciples below you, and he's teaching, he's handing off the keys, the key to knowledge. Let's tap in. Okay. So this is more, it seems rather simple, actually. Your higher self is like, let's turn this into a journaling session, or, you know, you could just speak it out loud if you're not the writing type, or, but oftentimes when we want something, in this case, your goal is we want to get to the beach, right? And so we can think of all the reasons we want to get to the beach, or all the reasons we want that goal. You just name it off, you know, because it's this and this and this, and it's going to be fun, and, you know, all of that. But rarely do we ever think about why we wouldn't want what we want. If that makes sense. It's like, you know, I want to go to the beach, but what would be the reasons why I actually wouldn't want to go? What would that mean? You know, so just thinking off the top of my head, you know, since I did grow up near the beach and I did enjoy the beach, now if I try to think of it from the other point of view, it's a lot more difficult, but it's definitely something to take into, because it's the things that we don't want from the beach that are actually preventing us from getting towards that goal. You know, like I said, in this case, the goal is the beach. And so, you know, if I try to think of all the reasons that would keep me from the beach, it's like, well, I get cold and it's a kind of a day, you know, so then my whole day, I wouldn't be able to do a whole lot of other things except be at the beach. I wake up with sand in my bed, you know. I mean, these are all minor things, and this is, you know, me just trying to come up with some things, but obviously you'd be thinking a little bit more deeply. What would be the reasons you would want to prevent yourself from going? Why wouldn't you want to go? And at first you might say, well, that's ridiculous because I do want to go. But if we're being blocked from going somewhere, if we're having difficulty going somewhere, doing something or accomplishing something, that means if everything is energetic, then there's something within us that is trying to prevent us from doing so. There's some little voice in there that's like, well, because, you know, let's say let's say you're a person who never, like you say, oh, I never win contests. Every time I want something, it's always out of reach. I never get what I want. It's always difficult for me to get what I want. Let's say that's a belief system within you. And so that belief system is working, it's a little hard out while you're trying to accomplish your goal of going to the beach. You're saying, I want to go. At the same time, the little voice is like, no, I'm never going to make it because I never win anything. I never get to accomplish what I want. It's always so hard for me. So then the universe is like, okay. The energy is like, you're okay. So you don't actually want to go? I'm confused. So it's taking a look at it this way. What beliefs might be attributed to attaining goals, not just going to the beach, but attaining goals in general. Do you feel that they are difficult to obtain? Do you feel like when you set a goal, it's so far out of reach for you? Do you feel that other people achieve what they want to do so much more easily? Do you feel like it would be hectic, once you're actually there, that yes, you would have fun, but would there be a downside to it as well? So just thinking of these things, and as you do either in meditation or journaling or, whatever, then you have a good idea of what the adverse voice is saying, the other voice, the voice that isn't in agreement with what you actually want to accomplish. And then you can go in and reprogram it and, release it. Okay, so that's what's going on. I need to find out where that actually came from. Where did I get that belief system from? Oh, maybe it was from, watching my dad or my mother who had the exact same belief. And I just kind of like picked up on it. Well, in that case, it wasn't my belief to take. So I'm going to release that now, and then from there, since it is a high priest card, it is a major arcana. In that reprogramming or the rewiring of that belief, then I see the beach coming in. So then now I'm walking towards it and it seems just so effortless. Now the shore is close by. So I hope that makes sense. A fun journaling meditation day, perhaps. Okay, let's see. Let's go back here. Katrina was talking about us being the Fern Gully friends. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen Fern Gully in forevers. And let's see, Katrina says, you just reminded me of a young Maggie Loon for fun. Y'all should watch it. Good story about how ego both destroys and saves the rainforest. Cheech and Chong voiced two of the characters and Tone Loc. Oh, really? I will have to look at it. This is Fern Gully. All the magic of creation lies in a single seed. We are flowers. Help each other grow. We all came from the Mhuabo of Woman. Melly says, beautiful Katrina, and seeds grow in darkness, much like the lotus, growing from the muck, and on faith makes it to the surface, and hence it's like akin to awakening, growth, finding truth, wisdom in the way. Melly says, sunshine makes us bloom. Lila says, sent another PayPal. What's on the horizon of personal life events? We can take a look-ski into that. And Aiden says, yeah, I watched for giggles recently. Oh, cool. I'm actually feeling a different deck for this question, Lilith. Interesting. It's like, I always see two different informations, like on the computer and on my phone. Technology these days. Okay. Lilith, what's on the horizon? And of course, we know whenever we try to look into future things, just like we were looking in for our friend iFlips, that future is malleable. We have an infinite number of futures with our timelines. So we can always change our present to change the future. So sometimes it's difficult to say what's in somebody's future because we're always evolving and making new choices. So we create a new future. Okay. I suppose only creator knows the future. Okay, oh my gosh, the song coming through is The Little Mermaid, part of your world. Oh my goodness. Wonder why that song is coming in for future events. Interesting. I want to be where the people are. I want to see them dancing, walking around on those, what's that word again? Feet. Up where they walk, up where they run, up where they stay all day in the sun, wandering free. Wish I could be part of that world. Okay. Oh, wow. We got the same card as like that's on the cover of the deck. I always love those synchronicities. Okay, just nerding out on cards. Anyway, it says release, breathing, respite. Fear does not prevent danger, so at least allow yourself to breathe. Ah, and I love how gangster the art is in this deck. It's like, what do you say, Renaissance gangster. All right, let's tap in. Oh, okay. So that's why Little Mermaid was coming in. All right. So and this is just one timeline. Obviously, you could change something, and this totally changes what your future reality looks like. But I mean, you might already kind of be at this point, but it feels like even more at this point where feeling so disconnected from the people that in your immediate surroundings, meaning like in your neighborhood, in your city, you know, your town, feeling this disconnection as though they're so opposite me. But can't I just like go ascend now? Can't I just, you know, and it's kind of like the Little Mermaid, you know, the Little Mermaid, Ariel, she felt a disconnection with the other merfolk. She was dissatisfied with being a mermaid. She wanted to be human. So it was like she was almost kind of using her friends and kind of trampling over everybody she came into contact with because she wanted, you know, she had a particular goal in mind. And although, yes, in the end, she did become human, but she had to learn something, you know, first about the environment that she was in, that she couldn't just leave it and be like, peace out. I don't want to know you anymore. You know, she had a lot of, things to understand about her ties to being a mermaid, about why she was a mermaid, and you know all the things that she could be grateful for having been that time as a mermaid. So for you, having, you know, been just like the people that maybe now you feel a disconnection with, you know, in the past, maybe you might have found yourself thinking like that, being like that, acting like that. And now it's almost like a trigger that when you see parts of who you used to be in others, it's like, wake up. That's not good for you. Um, but really, it's a projection of self onto the world around you. So if you feel in the future, and again, if this does end up becoming your future, that you feel very disconnected to the point where it's even hard to empathize with the people surrounding you, that now it's time to kind of come back in and understand why you might be so dissatisfied with them. Why am I so angry with them? Why am I projecting a bit of what I feel like I used to be onto them? Is it because I haven't forgiven myself for, you know, that time? And it's not to forgive self as in like, wow, I was a bad person, but it's like, well, you know, we were just growing at the time. So yeah, I forgive myself for the way I used to act and be, but I learned my lessons, you know, so that I don't continue to be like that, you know, and I'm grateful I learned those lessons, but also I have to have forgiveness for myself. That what now triggers me, you know, probably triggered others, and how I used to act, because now I feel it. So, um, just, yeah, it seems like that's a big thing that for now is coming up, is just this extreme like separation, disassociation with the people around you, becoming almost very dissatisfied yourself, with like, I don't fit in, like I just ascend, can I just like freaking peace out already, or is Jesus coming back anytime soon, almost like this, come on, like let's go. But then we are very future oriented instead of present oriented. Instead of looking at the beauty of the present, it's like, I'm trying to live for the future, I'm trying to be over there already, and then we miss all of the good stuff that's happening here in the present. So just a little heads up, a little FYI. And again, it's just, again, yeah, it's just information, so that you can choose to look into whys you might, be looking at things a certain way, why you might be so dissatisfied with certain people. And really it's kind of like a self-love thing, and who doesn't want a little bit of self-love, just going back and be like, oh, okay, I see where that's coming from. I forgive you, and it's all good. Maybe even go back, give some hugs to, past versions of yourself. And therefore now I can see the people in my reality who I was so frustrated with. I could see them with different eyes now, because I did used to be there. And so I understand that they are still going on their journey. And instead of, I don't know, I'm like not mocking them, but being very angry with them, I can instead wish them well, pray for them, wish them love, that they too can grow as I feel like I've grown, so they're my barometer, so that I could have actually more empathy instead of disassociation. So I hope that makes sense. Let's see, Lila says on point. So yeah, glad it helps. Let's see. Katrina said, awesome. The part about the cassette player is my favorite, and Robin Williams. She said, I miss this so much. My fave princess. They couldn't take my voice, but tried. Says, wow, the sound went to total poo. Oh no. Melly says, yeah. No, Ursula. Katrina's wondering about the mic battery. Oh, okay. Maybe it's just YouTube. YouTube gets glitchy once in a while. Throws temper tantrums. Well, thank you to everybody who allowed me to read for them. And thank you to everybody who stuck around and made a little tea, which I probably should warm this up by now, but oh well, I'll just show you. Everybody who made lavender water with me, which I will have to post the results on. Well, I guess I could post it in like my YouTube page. I can make a post, so I will post it there, and also post it on Instagram. So you don't know where I am on Instagram. I'm at Kittens, Weights, and Tarot on the Instas. I don't do a whole lot of social media. I'm really just Instagram and YouTube. The social media worlds is, I don't know, a little too cray for me. But yeah, so I'll show you what my lavender water turned out looking like, and what container I decided to put it in. Maybe I will put it in my old bottles. And thank you to everybody who listened in on our plant of the week, which was aloe, and the medicine that aloe has for us. And so hopefully you take the time to meditate with that wonderful plant, and feel into its energy, see what medicine it has for you, not just the physical medicine, but the spiritual medicine. And maybe you do want to utilize its physical medicine this week. So maybe you do want to go pick up some, aloe juice, or maybe you want to pick up some aloe gel, or maybe you want to make your own shampoo using aloe, or maybe you want to make some sort of concoction or a drink, or I don't know. Let me know what you guys end up coming up with, and what you learned from aloe vera this week, the patient plant Did you exercise patience? Was it hard to exercise patience? um, and I want to say thank you to everybody who comes into these live chats and all of my subscribers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to my YouTube members. You know who you are because you have the little colored kitty head right next to your name. So Duality Tail and Costalini, Cinnamon Girl 8611, Jonathan Cleese, Nancy from A Crone's Intuition, and also to my Patreon homies who it seems like they're enjoying all the changes that we've been doing on Patreon and, you know, obviously some of the changes we've been doing here on YouTube. I can't wait for like that's me living in the future though. In the present, I'm totally digging this whole process. I love it. I love it. But thank you to Linda and Signa Baby, Casey Gritter and Joel, Oz, Palu, Brandy, Brian, Lily, Crystal, Easy Does It, Dana, Jamie, and Ashley. Thank you so much. But like I said, I wanted us to end this live chat with a meditation, as I always do. Oh, Melly says, thank you for your herbal joys. Well, thank you. I'm glad you guys enjoy it. But I think I want to go back over to aloe vera and see if I can't tap into the plant and have the plant lead you guys in a meditation. I think that would be fun. Lilith says, thank you so much, Tara. You are very welcome. Love Mia is here. It says, can I get a free reading? We're doing the super chats and super stickers. And you could still do that if you'd like, because I haven't quite made my way over to the aloe vera plant. But you could also stay for the free meditation. There is a meditation, so get your heel on, my friend. Okay, let's have a little bit more tea. I'm just being intoxicated by this like jasmine smelling paper white here. I'm like, oh, it smells so good. Maybe I should have it. I would have it by the nightstand, but it gets more sun in the other part of the room. I'm just like, it's so lovely. Let's see. Oh, Melly says, I spray lavender water on my pillow every night. Ooh. I keep a little lavender pillow, like a little dream pillow underneath my pillow. But since tomorrow morning, I'm going to have my lavender water, I'm definitely spritzing my pillow and see how that does. Okay, let's go, homies. It's time to get our meditation on. Ooh. Ooh. All righty. Ooh. To the aloe vera plant we go. Alrighty, there you are, little plant friend. And it seems like we have a Vader friend coming in. Hello, Vader, you gonna help us meditate? Okay, come on. Vader, down. Vader, good boy, good boy. Okay. Let's go like this. Yeah. Cool. You know what, Vader? I think we should get out of the way. I think we should. Let's give their focus to the plant. There we go. That's more better. Moss better. Okay. Alrighty. All right, you guys, go ahead and find yourself a nice, comfortable space. A place you will be undisturbed for the next several minutes. You could be laying in your bed, sitting in a chair, seated on the floor. Maybe you are laying against your favorite tree. And when you find yourself nice and cozy in a comfortable position, go ahead and bring your awareness to your breath. Feeling the rise and fall of your chest. if you wish, go ahead and place one hand over your heart and one hand over the belly. And as you breathe in, see if you can make not only the chest rise, but your tummy rise, filling the entire being with that breath. Nice, slow inhale and a nice, slow exhale. Feeling the stomach contract and the chest contract as we exhale all that no longer serves us. And as we continue breathing in this fashion, we might envision us standing in the middle of a rocky landscape. You could be in the valley or in the hills. Try to envision it in as much detail as possible, either visually or perhaps it is a scent, it is a feeling that you have. Utilize your strongest sense to bring awareness to this environment. But as you wander around in this rocky landscape, you come across the very green and multi-pointed aloe vera plant. Almost as if this plant were waiting for you. And indeed, in this meditation, it has. Go ahead and approach the plant. And as you come across it, reach out and touch its limbs, the leaf. It might feel a bit rubbery. Envision the green or the essence of green, feeling along the ridges delicately. It is spiky. You notice that it is not soft at all, but a rather rigid plant with pointy tips. And as you become acquainted with the sight and feel of this plant, aloe begs you to break off a piece. It says, do not worry. I can reproduce many new arms. And as you thank this plant, you break off a small piece. You feel the wet, spongy portion of where the plant was broken off. You can inhale its scent if you wish. Rub the liquid between your fingers. But as you hold this now detached leaf, you allow it to guide your hand to a place in the body in which you feel harmed, perhaps even burned by someone or something. Could be a situation, could have been a person, could have been a word, a belief, but it's being held in the body somewhere. Allow the leaf to guide your hand. Where is it being held? Continue breathing. as we now have found the place in our body that we might be holding on to this burn, this pain, this hurt from this person or this situation, we now apply the gel of this plant, the juice of this plant. Break the leaf open down the middle and apply it to the wound. But as you do, there is now an energetic connection. We are healing not only that burn, but we are understanding why we were in this situation in the first place, why this person was brought into our reality and us into theirs. What did we learn? How will this make us stronger? How is this aiding in our growth? How are we aiding in the growth of each other, the situation itself? And just like a burn, pain is temporary, but we must understand why it got there in the first place. So that we are more mindful next time. We are more expanding. We grow. We take with us an understanding that we can be an example for others. Lead by example. Breathe in to the plant. It's on the particular part of the body. Allow its medicine to seep in. As you breathe, release from this area. Breathe in the medicine of aloe. Release what no longer serves. We've learned the lesson. We understand the message. We see the light as well as the shadow. We realize it was for the divine plan, for you and for everyone involved. Is better because of it. Has grown because of it. There are parts that were needing healing, deeper healing. And this situation was brought to us so that we might address that deeper healing. And now you may notice this part of the body feels so much lighter, so much relief. And so we thank aloe. We take our broken off leaf and we bury it in the ground to become soil, nutrients from the plant in which we got it from. We thank the aloe plant for showing us how we could heal ourselves, showing us the medicine we brought into our reality. And as you begin to walk away, begin to feel lighter, lighter. The way forward becomes clearer and clearer every step you take. Maybe begin to feel yourself return to the body. Alrighty, you guys can hear me now. Well, anyway, so I always try to do a bit of an impromptu meditation. I don't like to plan out my meditations because I'd rather, you know, Creator just kind of guide me on what is best for, you know, what the collective needs at the time. So I'm glad that we got to tap into aloe vera. So yay, super cool. Thank you again for everybody who hung out with us today. Let's see. Lilith was saying, Vader baby, this song is my ringtone. I always go look at my phone to make sure I'm not actually being called. And Katrina says, phone juice ran out and I had to excuse myself. Love y'all. Stay gold. Hello, aloe plant. Melly says, you too, Katrina. And Katrina said, sound was going because energy was not you at all. Oh, wow. And then she said, thank you so much to Melly. Melly saying, you're welcome, beautiful. Katrina says, okay, sound went again and it wasn't my phone. I don't know. Mucho loves. Well, loves to you guys as well. Hope you have a grand rest of your week. Definitely tap into aloe vera, you know, energetically, or see if you can use it physically this week and let me know what came of it. You know, what did you get from your meditations, downloads? Did you create some really awesome recipe? You can DM me over on Instagram at Kittens, Weights, and Tarot. Or, you know, like I said, I'm going to make a post tomorrow about the lavender water that we created. And I'll make that post on YouTube, but I'll also do it on Instagram as well. So you can always, you know, post your thoughts about all of that, about the tea that we made, the lavender water, or anything about aloe vera, or maybe even some stuff that came up from our one card pulls, which thank you to everybody who allowed me to read for them, because I think that it helps all of us. So Katrina's shown all the flowers, all the loves. Melly says, thank you, Tara, very beautiful. And Katrina says, my roommate has one. It's very sad, clearly. Aw. Well, send it some loves, send it some loves. All right, you guys, I will catch you all later. Peace, love, and chicken grease. Peace out.